My name is Scarlett Hayes. 30 years of life had seasoned my spirit, refined my perspectives. I returned to the vibrant heart of Nashville, a city that once cradled my childhood dreams, for a milestone event, my father's 60th birthday. My heart, brimming with a quiet anticipation, yearned for a warm family reunion. A tapestry woven with shared laughter, cherished memories, and perhaps a long-awaited sense of healing for unspoken rifts. Instead, I found myself adrift in a sea of public humiliation, my intentions cruelly misrepresented before the very eyes of our loved ones and closest acquaintances. Picture, if you will, the setting: a lively backyard soiree, bathed in the soft, ethereal glow of string lights that twinkled like captured fireflies against the deepening twilight. The air, thick with the inviting aroma of charcoal and sizzling barbecue, was alive with the cheerful murmur of conversation, punctuated by the gentle clinking of glasses. Each detail, a perfect tableau of warmth and conviviality, belied the storm that was about to break. For hours, I had poured my very soul into the meticulous creation of a small, intricately folded, handmade paper gift box. It was, by outward appearance, simple, unassuming, perhaps even quaint. Yet, within its delicate confines lay a profound secret, a surprise that I, with every fiber of my being, believed held the power to irrevocably alter my family's future, to lift them from the looming shadows of financial strain forever. When I gently presented this humble offering to my father, Arthur Hayes, a genuine smile graced my lips, a silent prayer that he would perceive the depth of love, the profound thought, and the sheer magnitude of the sacrifice that lay encapsulated within its unassuming form. But fate, it seemed, had a different, crueler script. My sister, Audrey Hayes, with a sudden, almost violent snatch, tore the gift from our father's unsuspecting hands. She held it aloft, as if it were an object of ridicule, a piece of worthless refuse, before tossing it with a careless, dismissive flick across the immaculately manicured lawn. "What, pray tell, is this, Scarlett?" she sneered, her voice, usually a melodic lilt, now amplified with a venomous intent, carrying clearly to every guest present. "Another cheapskate move, I presume." The festive crowd froze, their cheerful chatter abruptly silenced. A searing flush of heat rushed to my cheeks, painting them crimson with a humiliation so profound it bordered on physical pain. Yet, I stood my ground, silent, immobile, as Audrey's boisterous laughter filled the sudden void, joined by the mocking snickers of her boyfriend, Liam Thorne, as they derided my pathetic offering. Whispers, like insidious tendrils, spread through the stunned assembly. Some guests chuckled under their breath, their amusement a cruel endorsement of Audrey's malice. Others, their discomfort palpable, averted their gaze, unwilling to meet my mortified eyes. Just 15 agonizing minutes later, when that unassuming little box was finally, ceremoniously opened, Audrey's smug, triumphant grin dissolved into a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. In that profound moment, she would have given anything, truly anything, to retract every cruel word, every cutting remark, every venomous accusation. And what, you might ask, lay hidden within that simple, crumpled paper box? Let us simply say that its contents did not merely turn the entire party upside down, it shattered their preconceived notions, utterly reordered their reality, and reshaped the future in a way Audrey Hayes could never, in her wildest dreams, have ever expected. I pose this question to you, my cherished audience, for your profound insights are invaluable in the grand calculus of human exchange. What, in your esteemed opinion, truly matters more, the perceived monetary value, the exorbitant price of a gift, or the profound, heartfelt sentiment, the genuine intention that lies behind it? I eagerly await your wisdom in the comments section below. The unseen ascent. 4 years prior to this pivotal, humiliating evening, I had made the momentous decision to leave the comforting familiarity of Nashville behind, embarking on a daring, audacious journey across continents to Tokyo. My pursuit, a challenging, yet exhilarating, opportunity in the high-stakes world of technology. A long shot, to be sure, one that many, including my own sister, deemed utterly reckless. I was a mere 26 years old, fresh out of graduate school, armed with little more than a single suitcase, an indomitable spirit, and a somewhat vague, yet passionately held, plan for my future. My sister Audrey, with her characteristic skepticism, believed I was unequivocally crazy. She predicted, with an almost gleeful certainty, that I would crash and burn, that my ambitious venture would end in spectacular failure. And in her doubt, she was not entirely unfounded. Tokyo, a vibrant, sprawling metropolis, proved to be an unforgiving crucible during those initial months. The formidable language barrier struck with the force of a physical blow, leaving me feeling like an outsider, constantly fumbling through complex meetings, my words inadequate, my comprehension strained. But my resolve, born of a deep-seated desire to prove myself, held firm. I persevered, coding late into the nights, meticulously crafting innovative ideas, even pitching concepts that no one had explicitly requested, driven by an unwavering belief in my own capabilities. By the end of my second year, a miraculous turning point emerged. I had successfully landed a pivotal role at a burgeoning tech startup, a company that, with breathtaking speed, exploded into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. My meticulously acquired stock options, once mere paper promises, began to accumulate, transforming into a staggering sum, tens of millions of dollars, an amount so substantial it ensured that the specter of financial worry would never again darken my doorstep. Yet, I revealed this profound, life-altering truth to no one. Not to my parents, not to my closest friends, and certainly not to Audrey. I continued to live simply, embracing a quiet, unassuming existence. My favorite old jeans remained my wardrobe staple, my beat-up laptop, a faithful companion, was still my primary tool, and I continued to rent a tiny, modest apartment, deliberately eschewing the opulent trappings of wealth. Why, you might ask, this deliberate cloak of humility? Because I harbored a fervent desire that people would see me, Audrey Hayes, the individual, not merely a walking dollar sign. I yearned for authentic connections, for genuine relationships built on mutual respect and understanding, not on the superficial allure of what my wealth could procure. Returning to Nashville, my heart held one singular, profound goal: to share my extraordinary wealth with my beloved family. I poured every ounce of my love and heartfelt intention into that humble, small paper gift box, meticulously tucking the meticulously prepared trust papers inside. It was not flashy, it was not ostentatious, but to me, it signified everything. A beacon of security, a testament to my unwavering love. I could hardly contain my eagerness to witness my father, Arthur, and my mother, Doris Hayes, open it at his birthday celebration. I envisioned their faces, etched with relief, perhaps even with a quiet pride, as they comprehended the magnitude of my gift. But Audrey, as I would soon discover, harbored entirely different, more self-serving ideas. I arrived in town a few days early, deliberately renting a basic sedan to maintain my low-key facade, to avoid drawing any undue attention. Audrey, however, arrived to pick me up from the airport in her shiny, brand-new BMW, its polished exterior gleaming imperiously under the warm Tennessee sun. She was impeccably dressed in a designer jacket, a luxurious handbag dangling from her arm. An accessory that, I knew with a quiet certainty, probably cost more than an entire month's rent for my humble Tokyo apartment. Still driving rentals, Scarlett, she drawled, a smirk playing on her lips, as she unceremoniously tossed my well-worn duffel bag into her spacious trunk. I shrugged it off, determined not to let her barbs penetrate my composure, clinging to the faint hope that we might still, somehow, genuinely reconnect. Over coffee the following day, her conversation, a relentless monologue, revolved exclusively around her seemingly perfect life with her boyfriend Liam. "We just bought a new condo," she announced, her voice laced with an unmistakable pride, as she flashed pictures on her phone. Images of gleaming marble countertops and a luxurious rooftop pool. "You simply must visit," she added, her tone imbued with a subtle, yet unmistakable, implication that I, with my modest lifestyle, could never possibly afford such opulence. I quietly sipped my coffee, biting my tongue, resisting the urge to correct her profound misperception. She made no inquiries about my life in Tokyo, no genuine interest in my experiences. She simply rambled on about her latest exorbitant shopping spree, her words a constant, jarring reminder of our vastly different priorities. The day before Dad's party, we convened at their house for dinner. Audrey arrived in a shimmering silk dress, Liam trailing dutifully behind her in a meticulously tailored suit. He barely acknowledged my presence, his attention perpetually glued to his smartphone. "Are you still doing that computer stuff, Scarlett?" Audrey asked, her voice dripping with a condescending pity that scraped against my nerves. I nodded vaguely, deliberately keeping the details ambiguous. "Must be tough," she remarked, casting a dismissive glance at my plain sweater and comfortable sneakers. "Not everyone can keep up with Nashville's vibrant social scene, you know." Mom, Doris, bless her heart, attempted to gracefully change the subject, inquiring about my flight, but Audrey, with her usual self-absorption, cut her off, launching into a boastful recitation about a new, dazzling watch Liam had bought her. It became undeniably clear that she firmly believed I was struggling, perhaps even nursing a secret jealousy of her ostentatious, flashy life. I allowed her to wallow in her self-serving assumptions. The truth was, I harbored no need for a designer handbag to feel good about myself, to affirm my own worth. My true value resided not in the superficiality of what I wore, or the material possessions I could display, but in the enduring significance of what I had painstakingly built, and, more profoundly, in the selfless generosity of what I planned to give. That night, lying in the quiet solitude of my old bedroom, my thoughts drifted to the simple gift box nestled in my suitcase. It contained not merely money. It held the promise of profound security for Dad and Mom, a tranquil future free from financial anxieties. It represented a genuine opportunity for Audrey to pursue her own, authentic dreams, unburdened by the need to lean on Liam's financial support. I pictured her face when she eventually saw the trust papers, clinging to the fervent hope that this extraordinary gesture of love would somehow bridge the ever-widening gap that had emerged between us. We had always been fundamentally different. She, with her magnetic charisma, gravitated effortlessly towards the dazzling glare of the spotlight. I, with my quiet intensity, preferred the comforting solitude of the shadows, finding solace in intellectual pursuits and genuine connection. But I clung to the fervent belief that the unbreakable bonds of family could, ultimately, transcend these superficial differences. I did not know then, with the chilling clarity of hindsight, how profoundly mistaken I was, how her words would ultimately cut deeper than I could ever have possibly imagined. But such, I suppose, is the cruel nature of human interaction when one naively assumes that another values the same profound things that you hold dear. The party was scheduled for tomorrow, and my singular desire was to simply be myself. No masks, no pretense, absolutely nothing to hide. The party of humiliation, the evening of my father, Arthur's 60th birthday finally arrived, a tapestry of anticipation and, for me, a looming sense of unease. I stepped into the inviting backyard of his Nashville home, clutching the small, carefully crafted paper gift box I had painstakingly made. The space, transformed into a cozy haven, featured charming picnic tables adorned with checkered cloths, and a scattering of lanterns casting a warm, almost magical glow. Guests mingled amiably, their cheerful chatter blending harmoniously with the soft strains of country music emanating from a portable speaker. As they sipped lemonade and beer, I had spent countless hours meticulously folding that unassuming box, my heart swelling with the profound knowledge that within its delicate confines lay the promise of a future liberated from financial stress for my beloved family. I wasn't yet ready to fully articulate the monumental significance of its contents, yearning for the perfect, most opportune moment to reveal its true meaning. But as my gaze swept across the festive crowd, a familiar knot of apprehension tightened in my stomach. Audrey, already holding court, her laughter sharp, commanding, and undeniably self-assured, immediately drew my attention. I approached the gift table, placing my humble box discreetly next to a towering stack of brightly wrapped, ostentatious packages. Audrey, ever observant, spotted me, her eyes narrowing imperceptibly as she sauntered over. Liam, her devoted shadow, trailing dutifully behind. She wore a sequined dress that shimmered under the lanterns, catching every available sliver of light, while Liam, equally ostentatious, sported a flashy watch and a familiar, smug smirk. "What, pray tell, is that, Scarlett?" Audrey asked, her voice laced with a condescending sweetness as she casually picked up my box, treating it like a trivial child's toy. "Did you, by any chance, make this in art class?" Her tone, though feigned lightheartedness, delivered a sharp, deliberate jab that pierced my carefully constructed composure. A few nearby guests chuckled uncomfortably, casting furtive glances in my direction. Liam, seizing the opportunity to amplify Audrey's cruelty, leaned in, meticulously inspecting the box. "Looks like something one might stumble upon at a thrift store," he said, his voice loud enough for several nearby guests to overhear, his words a further, deliberate humiliation. The words stung a venomous assault on my pride, but I forced a brittle smile, attempting to brush off their callous remarks. Audrey's friend, Penelope Davies, ever the instigator, pulled out her phone, aiming its lens directly at my humble gift. "Oh, this is simply too good," she giggled, her fingers already poised to record. "Audrey, you simply must show it off." Audrey, ever eager for an audience, held the box higher, theatrically turning it for the camera. "This, ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her voice dripping with an almost theatrical sarcasm, as Scarlett's grand contribution to Dad's special day. "What is it, even? A coupon for free hugs?" The crowd, emboldened by Audrey's cruel wit, laughed louder, a chorus of dismissive amusement, and I felt my cheeks flush crimson with a humiliation so profound it left me breathless. Penelope, her phone still recording, her fingers tapping furiously, made it clear her intention was to post the video online, amplifying my public shaming to the digital sphere. I clenched my fists, resisting the primal urge to snatch the box back, to end the torment. They, in their smug ignorance, had no idea what lay hidden inside, and I was not about to let their merciless mockery ruin my meticulously laid plans. I turned away, my gaze sweeping the crowd, finally spotting Mom and Dad near the grill. "Hey, Scarlett," Mom called, waving me over, her voice a welcome beacon of normalcy. I joined them, profoundly grateful for the temporary escape. Dad was diligently flipping burgers, his apron stained with barbecue sauce, his presence a comforting anchor in the swirling chaos. "You doing okay, kid?" he asked, his voice gentle, his concern a balm to my raw nerves. I nodded, unwilling to burden him with my humiliation. "Just happy to be here," I said, forcing a cheerfulness I did not feel. Doris squeezed my arm, her eyes warm, yet tinged with a wariness I recognized. We talked about cherished old birthdays, about Dad's notoriously terrible fishing trips, anything to distract my mind from Audrey's relentless taunts. But I could still hear her, her voice carrying clearly across the yard as she continued her performance for more guests. "Scarlett's always been practical," she declared, the word, practical, laced with an unmistakable pity. Liam, ever her echo, chimed in. "Yeah, some people just don't aim high enough." Their words, like finely sharpened blades, cut deeper than I had expected, stirring a potent cocktail of anger and profound hurt. I stayed close to Mom and Dad, helping to serve food and engaging in polite conversation with neighbors, but Audrey's oppressive presence loomed, a dark cloud casting a pall over the celebration. Every time I glanced in her direction, she was flaunting something new. Her dazzling earrings, her impossibly high heels, her carefully curated, perfect life. Penelope, phone still clutched in her hand, continued to meticulously capture every moment, as if the party were a gripping reality show, and I, its unwitting victim. I desperately tried to refocus on the true purpose of my return, to give my family something real, something truly lasting. The unassuming box sat quietly on the gift table, unnoticed by most, yet within its simple confines lay everything I had worked for, everything I cherished. I told myself to remain calm, to wait for the opportune moment, the right time. Audrey's words, I desperately tried to believe, were just noise, a temporary distraction. They would not, could not, change what I had come to do. But Audrey, it seemed, was far from finished, and I could feel the tension in the air building, thick and suffocating. I stood near Mom, diligently passing out plates, attempting to shake off the lingering sting of Audrey's earlier jabs. The gift table sat just a few feet away, my small paper box nestled incongruously among the shiny bags and elaborate ribbons. I kept glancing at it, knowing its monumental secret, hoping against hope that Dad would open it soon, that the truth would finally be revealed. But then Audrey's voice, sharp and commanding, cut through the cheerful chatter, pulling every eye, every single gaze in her direction. She strode purposefully toward the gift table, her sequin dress flashing under the lanterns, a dazzling, yet sinister, beacon. Liam, his grin wide, followed closely behind, as if they were about to embark on a meticulously choreographed performance. Audrey snatched my box from the pile, holding it aloft like a triumphant trophy. "Scarlett, seriously," she called out, her voice loud enough to silence the entire crowd. "This is your magnificent gift for Dad's 60th birthday." She shook the box dismissively, its undeniable lightness drawing snickers from a few guests. Before I could even formulate a response, she tossed it with a disdainful flick across the lawn, the paper crumpling pathetically as it landed in the grass. "Cheapskate move, Scarlett," she declared, her tone biting, venomous. "Couldn't even spring for a real gift, could you?" The word, cheapskate, hit me with the force of a physical slap, echoing in the sudden, profound silence. Faces turned toward me, some amused, others profoundly uncomfortable, their gazes a mix of curiosity and judgment. Penelope, phone in hand, was already live streaming, her camera meticulously trained on the crumpled box lying ignominiously in the grass. "This is gold," she laughed, her voice shrill, panning her camera to capture Audrey's triumphant smirk. "Y'all, Scarlett's out here with $1 store special?" The live stream chat, a relentless stream of anonymous commentary, exploded with comments, each one amplifying the humiliation, transforming my private shame into a public spectacle. My heart pounded, my hands trembling uncontrollably as I stood frozen, paralyzed by the sheer enormity of the moment. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to grab the box, to flee from the crushing weight of their contempt, but my feet, inexplicably, refused to move. The suffocating weight of dozens of eyes pinned me in place, my throat tight with overwhelming embarrassment, my dignity shredded. Dad stepped forward, his face stern, a rare display of paternal anger. "Audrey, that's quite enough!" he commanded, his voice low but firm, a clear rebuke. He started toward the box, but Doris, my mother, grabbed his arm, her eyes darting frantically between Audrey and me. "Audrey, apologize to your sister," she urged, her voice laced with desperation. Audrey merely laughed, brushing her hair back with an affected casualness. "Apologize for what, Mom? Scarlett's the one who showed up with that." She gestured dismissively at the box, now scuffed and dirty in the grass. "If she can't afford a decent gift, that's hardly my fault." Liam, ever her loyal sycophant, nodded, crossing his arms. "Some people just don't get it," he added, his voice smug, adding fuel to the fire. The crowd murmured, a complex symphony of gasps and whispers, as Penelope continued to film, her phone capturing every agonizing second of my public ordeal. I stood there, the humiliation burning through me like a corrosive acid. My simple jeans and sweater, chosen for their comfort and lack of pretense, now felt like a glaring spotlight, marking me as the outsider Audrey so desperately wanted me to be. I longed to scream, to shout that the box was not what it seemed, that it held something far, far bigger than any of them could possibly imagine. But the words, choked by emotion and shame, simply would not come. I clenched my jaw, my gaze fixed on the unforgiving grass, refusing to let Audrey see me break, refusing to give her the satisfaction of my tears. I had worked too hard, come too far, to let her cruel words define me. Yet, the shame was overwhelming, a suffocating wave that threatened to drag me under, a tide of humiliation I felt utterly powerless to swim out of. Every laugh, every sidelong glance, felt like a knife twisting deeper into my already wounded spirit. Dad and Doris, seeing my distress, tried again, their voices overlapping in a desperate attempt to regain control of the rapidly spiraling situation. "Audrey, pick it up and apologize," Dad insisted, his tone sharper now, a clear command. Doris stepped closer to me, her hand resting gently on my shoulder, a small comfort in the storm. "Scarlett, don't listen to her," she whispered, her words barely registering through the haze of my humiliation. Audrey rolled her eyes, completely unfazed by their pleas. "Oh, please, Dad," she scoffed. "She's fine. Maybe next time she'll actually try." The crowd shifted, some guests shaking their heads in disapproval, others, to my profound dismay, chuckling along with Audrey, their complicity a bitter betrayal. Penelope's live stream continued to roll, the comments piling up, each one a fresh, invisible jab that I couldn't see, but could acutely feel. I remained silent, my eyes locked on the crumpled box in the grass. It wasn't just paper and ink. It was my heart, my years of sacrifice, my hope for our family. Audrey's cruel words couldn't change that, but they hurt all the same, a deep, lacerating wound. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. This, I knew, was not over. The unveiling of truth. I stood there, my gaze fixed intently on my crumpled gift box, lying ignominiously in the grass, my heart still racing from the searing sting of Audrey's cruel words. Then, a familiar, reassuring figure stepped forward through the stunned crowd. Attorney Evelyn Sterling, my esteemed lawyer, a woman I had known and implicitly trusted since my early days in Tokyo. She had flown in specifically for the party, at my discreet request, poised and ready to assist with the profound surprise I had meticulously planned. With a calm, deliberate stride that commanded immediate attention, Attorney Sterling crossed the lawn, stooped gracefully, and retrieved the crumpled box, brushing off the specks of dirt and grass that clung to its surface. "Scarlett," she began, her voice steady, authoritative, "would you mind if I take a look?" I nodded, my throat too tight, too constricted by emotion, to utter a single word. Attorney Sterling then meticulously opened the box, her movements precise, revealing a neatly folded document within. She held it aloft, her piercing gaze sweeping across the stunned crowd, her presence radiating an undeniable gravitas. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her tone commanding an absolute, profound silence, "this document is a trust agreement. Scarlett Hayes," she continued, her voice resonating with an undeniable authority, "has established a trust, an irrevocable endowment, valued at an extraordinary 20 million. This trust is specifically designed to comprehensively clear her parents' outstanding debts and to provide substantial, ongoing financial support for her family, Arthur Hayes, Doris Hayes, and Audrey Hayes." Gasps like a sudden, collective exhalation rippled through the assembled guests. Doris, my mother, her hand flying to her mouth in a gesture of profound shock, stared in disbelief. Arthur, my father, his eyes widening to an almost comical degree, his burger tongues frozen midair, stood utterly speechless. Audrey's smug smirk, once so triumphant, her instantly vanished, her face paling to a ghostly white as Attorney Sterling continued, her words unfolding with deliberate, impactful precision. "This trust," she explained, her voice gaining an almost poetic rhythm, "is meticulously structured to secure their future. Debts will be cleared, their homes saved from financial burden, and their cherished dreams, once deferred, now fully funded." The crowd leaned in, hanging on her every word, their faces a mixture of awe and dawning comprehension. Attorney Sterling paused for a moment, flipping to the page that listed the beneficiaries. She looked directly at Audrey, her expression utterly unreadable, her gaze holding a silent, yet powerful judgment. "However," she stated slowly, deliberately, "Scarlett possesses the explicit authority to amend the terms of this trust. Given recent behavior, she might indeed reconsider who ultimately benefits." The words hung heavy in the air, a profound, almost audible, shockwave. Guests immediately turned their gazes to Audrey, their whispers sharp, accusing, filled with a righteous indignation. Did she really say that about Scarlett? One person muttered, the question pregnant with disbelief. "That's her sister." Another hissed, loud enough for Audrey to clearly hear. Liam, Audrey's boyfriend, shifted uncomfortably, his once smug grin completely gone, replaced by a nervous, furtive glance at Audrey, his loyalty visibly wavering. Penelope, still live streaming, fumbled her phone, her eyes wide with a dawning horror as the live chat exploded with shocked emojis and furious comments, a digital firestorm of condemnation. I stood in silent observation, watching the profound shift unfold, the dramatic reordering of their perception. Audrey's face crumpled, her carefully constructed facade of confidence utterly shattered, replaced by a raw, naked panic. 20 million. She stammered, her voice barely audible, a fragile whisper of disbelief. She looked at me, her eyes desperately searching for something. Denial, perhaps, or a sign that I would simply laugh it off, that this was all some elaborate, cruel joke. I offered no such comfort. The truth, in all its devastating glory, was out, and it was not the flashy, triumphant reveal I had once imagined. It was raw, brutally exposing not only the magnitude of my wealth, but more painfully, the vast, unbridgeable chasm that had opened between me and Audrey. Attorney Sterling, with a quiet dignity, folded the document, carefully tucking it back into the humble paper box. Scarlett, she stated, her voice firm, unwavering, worked incredibly hard for this. She genuinely desired to share it with her family, but respect, as we all know, goes both ways. The crowd nodded, some glaring openly at Audrey, others shaking their heads in profound disbelief at her monumental folly. Doris, my mother, stepped closer, her eyes misty with unshed tears, her face a mixture of shock and overwhelming gratitude. "Scarlett?" she asked, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "Is this truly real?" I nodded, managing a small heartfelt smile. "It's for you and Dad," I said softly, my voice filled with an honest, unwavering love. "I just wanted to make things easier for both of you." Arthur, my father, put his arm around Doris, his face a complex mosaic of pride and profound shock. "Kid, I had no idea," he said, his voice thick with emotion, his eyes glistening. This is incredible." The murmurs of the guests grew louder, their tones shifting dramatically from amused spectators to outraged, indignant judges. "She called her a cheapskate for that?" a neighbor whispered, the disbelief palpable in her voice. "Unbelievable." Another exclaimed, loud enough for Audrey to clearly hear, a public condemnation. Liam, sensing the toxic shift in the social currents, subtly edged away from Audrey, his phone suddenly far more interesting than the unfolding scene. Penelope's live stream was now a roaring wildfire, the video racking up hundreds of thousands of views in mere minutes as strangers online, emboldened by anonymity, piled on with a relentless stream of scathing commentary. "This is insane." One comment read, "Her sister's loaded, and she did that?" Audrey's eyes darted frantically to Penelope, who looked genuinely panicked, suddenly realizing her video, intended to boost her friend's ego, had catastrophically backfired. "I didn't know," Penelope mouthed, her voice a desperate whisper, but Audrey merely stared, her hands visibly shaking, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. The crowd's judgment was a palpable, suffocating force, their whispers a deafening chorus of disapproval. I felt a strange, bittersweet mix of vindication and profound sadness. I had never wanted it to unfold like this, in such a public, devastating manner. But Audrey's own actions, her unbridled cruelty, had forced the truth into the open, irrevocably exposing her true character. Attorney Sterling handed me the box, her eyes steady, unwavering, a silent wellspring of support. "It's your call, Scarlett," she said quietly, yet loud enough for those nearby to hear. I took the box, its weight suddenly heavier now, not with paper and legal documents, but with the profound, life-altering choice that lay ahead. Audrey's eyes met mine, pleading, desperate, but I deliberately looked away, my resolve unbroken. The party, in essence, was far from over, but the very air, the atmosphere, had irrevocably changed. Audrey stood a few feet away, her face a chaotic mix of panic, humiliation, and burgeoning desperation. She pushed through the now judgmental crowd, her high heels sinking precariously into the soft grass as she approached me. "Scarlett, wait!" she pleaded, her voice softer now, almost a desperate whisper. "I didn't mean it. I was just joking. You know that, right?" Her eyes darted frantically around, desperately seeking allies, any sign of understanding. But the faces of the guests were cold, their expressions hardened, their murmurs sharp with unequivocal judgment. I looked at her, seeing, for a fleeting moment, the sister I had so desperately hoped to reconnect with, but her words felt hollow, devoid of any genuine remorse, a transparent attempt to salvage her crumbling reputation. "Joking," I said, my voice low but firm, imbued with a quiet, steely resolve. "Audrey, you have been tearing me down, systematically undermining me, since the moment I arrived back in Nashville. That, my dear sister, was not a joke. That was pure, unadulterated jealousy." Her mouth opened, then closed, her cheeks flushing a deeper crimson. The crowd watched, some nodding in silent agreement, others whispering about her brazen, unrepentant behavior. "Please, Scarlett," she pleaded, stepping closer, her hands clasped together in a desperate supplication. "Don't take me out of the trust. I need this. We're family, after all." Her voice cracked, a fragile sound that attempted to convey desperation, but I could still discern the cold calculation in her eyes, the same predatory look she'd had when she flaunted her material wealth. I shook my head, my resolve unwavering. Family, I stated, my voice clear and firm, does not humiliate each other for cheap laughs. I paused, allowing my words to sink in. You made your choice. Liam, who had been hovering nearby, always a keen opportunist, saw his chance. He stepped forward, his smile forced, a transparent contortion, like a salesman pitching a notoriously bad deal. Scarlett, let's talk this out, he said, his tone slick, oily. We could work together. Perhaps invest some of that trust money. There's no need to cut Audrey out. His eyes gleamed with undisguised opportunism, and I almost laughed aloud at his sheer audacity. Work together, I said, my voice sharp, cutting through his pretense. You stood there, silent and complicit, while she mocked me, while she publicly humiliated me. I am, Mr. Thorne, not interested. Liam's face fell, and he quickly backed off, muttering something about misunderstandings. The crowd's whispers grew louder, some guests shaking their heads in disbelief at his brazen audacity. Penelope, still clutching her phone, looked truly frantic. Her live stream had exploded, racking up hundreds of thousands of views in mere minutes, her unintended exposé now a global sensation. The comments, a relentless barrage, were brutal, unforgiving, tearing into Audrey, calling her entitled, fake, a bully. She threw her sister's gift and called her cheap. One comment seethed. What a snake! Another exclaimed. Penelope tried desperately to stop the video, fumbling with her phone, but it was far too late. The internet, that unforgiving beast, had latched on, and Audrey's name was now trending globally, for all the wrong, most humiliating reasons. I didn't know it would go this far, Penelope said, her voice shaky, as she approached a now shattered Audrey. I truly thought it was funny. Audrey glared at her, her eyes wet with tears, a mixture of rage and profound self-pity. Funny, she snapped. You made me look like a complete fool. Penelope visibly shrank back, the crowd's disapproval now, with a cruel shift, aimed at her as well. Mom and Dad pushed through the crowd, their faces etched with deep concern, their love for both of us still palpable despite the chaos. Doris reached for my hand, her touch warm, reassuring. Scarlett, we are so incredibly grateful, she said, her voice trembling with raw emotion. We had absolutely no idea you had done something this monumental for us. Arthur nodded, his eyes misty, a profound pride mingling with his earlier shock. You've always been the quiet one, kid, but this is truly incredible, he said. I smiled, my heart full, overflowing with love, despite the surrounding chaos. I just wanted to take care of you and Mom, I said softly, glancing at them. That's all that matters. I paused, my voice firming, a new resolve hardening my tone. But Audrey's actions have consequences. I am only supporting you two for now. Doris's face fell slightly, but she nodded, a silent acknowledgement of her daughter's just decision. Arthur squeezed my shoulder, his expression a complex mix of pride and profound sadness. The guests were still buzzing, some openly criticizing Audrey. She absolutely had it coming. A neighbor muttered, his voice laced with indignation. You simply don't treat family like that. Another said, loud enough for Audrey to clearly hear, a final, public condemnation. She stood frozen, her hands trembling uncontrollably, the devastating weight of her monumental mistake finally, irrevocably sinking in. Liam edged toward the sidelines, his phone out again, likely frantically checking the damage online, calculating his next move. Penelope tried, unsuccessfully, to slip away, but eyes followed her, judging her undeniable role in the messy, public spectacle. The video was everywhere, now endlessly shared across every conceivable platform, each view chipping away relentlessly at Audrey's meticulously crafted, utterly false image. I felt a pang of profound sadness. She was, after all, my sister, but her choices and hers alone had built this moment, not mine. I turned to Attorney Sterling, who stood nearby, her calm, professional presence a grounding force amidst the emotional maelstrom. Thank you, I whispered, my voice barely audible. She nodded, her eyes steady, reassuring. You did the right thing, Scarlett, she said quietly. I looked at the crowd, then at Audrey, who was still staring at me, her face a mask of regret. I wasn't sure if her regret was genuine, if it stemmed from true remorse, or simply the crushing weight of public humiliation. But, in that moment, it didn't truly matter. I had come to share something profoundly meaningful, something truly transformative, and I would not allow her actions, her petty cruelty, to irrevocably ruin that. I slipped quietly away from the backyard, the hum of the party fading as I stepped into the cool, Nashville night. My rental car was parked discreetly down the street, and I drove to my rented apartment, a small, one-bedroom space I had chosen for its utter simplicity, its unassuming nature. The heavy weight of the evening, its emotional residue, clung to me, yet I felt a strange, profound calm settle over my spirit. I had come to share something truly meaningful, and I would not allow Audrey's actions to derail that. Sitting on the couch, I pulled out my phone and dialed Attorney Sterling. "It's time," I said, my voice firm. "Let's finalize the trust for Mom and Dad." She confirmed she'd immediately begin the necessary paperwork to transfer the funds. A sum more than sufficient to clear all their debts and secure their financial future. "And Audrey?" Attorney Sterling asked, her tone carefully neutral. I took a deep breath, the decision firm, irrevocable. "She's out," I said, my voice steady. "I'm done." My phone buzzed relentlessly as I spoke, Audrey's name flashing frantically across the screen. Texts piled up. "Please, let's talk. I didn't mean to hurt you. Can we meet?" Then came the voicemails, her voice shaky, desperate, begging for a chance to explain, to offer her hollow apologies. I didn't listen past the first few seconds. Each message felt like a desperate, replayed performance of her backyard theatrics. Too little, too late. I opened my contacts, found her number, and with a quiet sense of finality, I hit block. The profound silence that followed was a palpable, immediate relief. I had spent years meticulously building something magnificent, something intended to lift our entire family up, to secure their future. But Audrey, with her own deliberate, conscious choices, had chosen, instead, to tear me down. That choice, I knew with absolute certainty, had profound, unalterable consequences, and I was not going to bend, not going to compromise my integrity again. Next, I called Mom and Dad. Doris answered, her voice soft but steady, imbued with a newfound peace. "Scarlett, are you okay?" she asked, her concern genuine. I smiled, picturing her in the kitchen, perhaps still in her apron, her face etched with relief. "I'm fine, Mom," I said. "I just wanted you and Dad to know. The trust is fully set. The money is coming directly to both of you. Your house, your bills, all completely taken care of." Arthur's voice came on the line, gruff with raw emotion. "You didn't have to do this, kid," he said, his voice thick with profound gratitude. "But we are so incredibly proud of you." I swallowed hard, my eyes stinging with unshed tears. "It's what I always wanted," I said, my voice filled with a quiet sincerity. "Just for you too." I deliberately did not mention Audrey, and they, with a silent understanding, did not ask. They knew implicitly where I stood. My phone pinned again, this time a message from Penelope. "Scarlett, I'm so sorry," it read. "I truly didn't mean for the video to blow up like this. Please forgive me." I stared at the words, remembering her laughter, her eager filming, her blatant eagerness to boost Audrey's ego at my expense. She hadn't cared about the profound hurt she caused, not until the inevitable, public backlash. I didn't respond, I simply deleted the message. I wasn't in the mood for apologies that only materialized when the painful consequences became undeniably real. Penelope's video was still spreading, now with hundreds of thousands of views, a viral sensation. Social media, that unforgiving beast, was relentless posts and tweets tearing into Audrey, calling her ungrateful, cruel, fake. Screenshots of the live stream popped up on local Nashville forums, accompanied by scathing comments like, "She publicly humiliated her sister over a $20 million gift and lost her family and her reputation in one night. What an absolute fool." Audrey's carefully curated, false image was crumbling, irrevocably shattered. I had seen her Instagram before the party. The glossy photos of her with Liam, their luxurious condo, her endless array of designer bags. Now, those meticulously curated posts were flooded with relentless criticism. "You don't deserve a sister like Scarlett." One comment seethed. "Hope the clout was worth it." Another bitterly added. Liam's accounts weren't spared either, with people tagging him as Audrey's enabler, complicit in her cruelty. I didn't check for long. Watching her world unravel wasn't as satisfying as I had thought it would be. It just felt empty, devoid of any genuine triumph. I had wanted to share my immense success with her, to bridge the growing chasm between us, but she, through her own malicious choices, had irrevocably burned that bridge herself. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling of my sparse apartment. The trust was in motion, Attorney Sterling expertly handling the intricate details. Mom and Dad would be okay, and in that undeniable fact, I found my profound peace, my ultimate contentment. Audrey's messages were gone, her number blocked, her voice silenced in my life. I didn't know if she would ever learn from this devastating experience, if she would ever truly see past her own crippling pride. Perhaps, one day, we might talk again, truly talk, but not now. I had given enough. The morning brought with it a new chapter, a fresh beginning, and I, Scarlet Hayes, was ready to move forward. A life forged in authenticity. Weeks had gracefully unfolded since the tumultuous party, and I had, with a quiet contentment, settled into a peaceful, purposeful routine in my Nashville apartment. My days were now filled with the exhilarating rhythm of coding for innovative tech projects, my laptop's soft glow illuminating the late hours as I worked remotely for a diverse array of clients spanning the globe. The deliberate simplicity of my surroundings suited me perfectly: cherished secondhand furniture, the comforting hum of a coffee maker, and a tranquil view of the city skyline through a modest window. I harbored no need for ostentatious displays of wealth to feel truly content, truly fulfilled. My happiness was forged in authenticity, not acquisition. Every Sunday, a cherished ritual, I called Mom and Dad, their voices radiating warmth and serenity over the phone. "The house is completely paid off, Scarlett," Doris told me one evening, her tone lighter, more joyful than I had heard in years, a profound relief etched into every syllable. "We're even planning a trip?" Arthur added, his voice imbued with a quiet delight, chuckling about a rustic fishing cabin they had always dreamed of renting, a long-deferred dream now within their grasp. Knowing, with absolute certainty, that they were financially secure, brought me a profound peace, a deep contentment that words alone could never fully capture. Meanwhile, Audrey's life, a stark contrast to my own burgeoning tranquility, was unraveling in ways I had, frankly, not anticipated, a chaotic descent into self-inflicted consequences. I no longer followed her online, no longer subjected myself to the relentless barrage of her carefully curated facade. Yet, snippets of her unraveling reality inevitably reached me through mutual acquaintances and the occasional, unavoidable news alert. The video from the party, that painful chronicle of her cruelty, had taken on a life of its own, racking up millions of views, an inescapable digital testament to her public humiliation. Social media, that unforgiving arbiter of public opinion, was relentless in its condemnation. People, emboldened by their collective outrage, called her out for her unvarnished cruelty, her posts buried beneath an unstoppable wave of scathing criticism. "Lost her sister and her dignity," one comment grimly read, a succinct summary of her profound loss. Friends she had once so proudly bragged about had, one by one, subtly distanced themselves, unwilling to be tied to her irrevocably tarnished image. Local Nashville gossip circles buzzed with sensational stories of her being pointedly snubbed at social events, her invitations to exclusive gatherings drying up completely. The fallout was not merely social, it was, as I had predicted, deeply financial. Whispers circulated that Audrey was struggling profoundly, her once lavish lifestyle crumbling rapidly without the substantial trust funds she had so carelessly, so arrogantly, counted on. Then there was Liam. I heard through a distant cousin that he had, without ceremony, left Audrey, packing up his belongings and moving out of their luxurious condo. Apparently, he had been desperately pitching various business ideas to anyone who would listen, shamelessly attempting to leverage Audrey's connections, but her now ruined reputation had, inevitably, dragged him down as well. "He's gone," Doris mentioned during one call, her voice tinged with a quiet pity. "Left her with nothing but bills and a broken heart." I nodded silently, unsurprised. Liam had always chased status, always sought to align himself with power and influence, and Audrey, in her spectacular downfall, was no longer a ticket to either. I felt no triumph, no cruel satisfaction, only a quiet, profound sadness for the sister I had once hoped to share my successes with, the sister I had genuinely longed to reconnect with. Her choices, and hers alone, had constructed this painful mess, not mine. I spent many hours reflecting on what had transpired, especially late at night when the city finally fell quiet, its relentless hum replaced by a soothing stillness. The trust I had so lovingly set up for Mom and Dad was my way of demonstrating unconditional love, not a calculated attempt to prove a point, to gain an advantage. I had never harbored any desire to flaunt my wealth, to parade it like Audrey did with her endless array of designer bags and meticulously staged, artificial photos. That life, I had learned through quiet observation and personal experience, felt hollow, ultimately empty to me. A relentless chase for ephemeral approval that never truly lasted, never truly satisfied. What truly mattered, what resonated with profound meaning, was honesty, was being unequivocally true to who you are, your authentic self, not to what superficial possessions you could display for others' admiration. I had learned this invaluable lesson during my arduous, yet transformative, years in Tokyo, working tirelessly to build something real, something tangible, something that held intrinsic value, and I carried that profound wisdom with me now, wherever I went. The party had been a crucible, a painful test of that deeply held belief, but I had emerged stronger, more resolute, absolutely certain that I had made the right call by keeping my immense success under wraps, concealed from public view, until its revelation truly mattered, until it could effect profound change. Sometimes I would idly check my phone, almost expecting another message from Penelope, a lingering vestige of our shared, painful past. But none ever came after her initial, desperate apology. I hadn't responded, and I harbored no plans to. Her undeniable role in amplifying the drama, in turning my private humiliation into a public spectacle, was not something I could easily brush off, even if she now genuinely regretted it. The internet, that unforgiving elephant, hadn't forgotten either. Her social media profiles were noticeably quieter now, her follower count steadily dropping as people inexorably linked her to Audrey's downfall. I didn't dwell on it. My focus, unwavering and resolute, was firmly fixed on the future, exciting new projects, cherished calls with Mom and Dad, perhaps a tranquil weekend, hike in the majestic Smoky Mountains, a reconnection with the natural world that brought me such solace. I had meticulously built a life that felt utterly authentic, profoundly meaningful, and that, for me, was more than enough. Audrey's name still occasionally surfaced in passing. A local news mention of her failed attempts to salvage her shattered image, or a friend forwarding a cruel meme about the Cheapskate incident. Each time, I felt a familiar pang of sadness, a fleeting echo of our shared past, but I allowed it to go, to dissipate into the ether. I had given her a chance, a profound opportunity for familial connection and shared success, and she had, with her own hands, chosen to burn that bridge, irrevocably. Perhaps, one day, she would finally see what truly mattered, what held genuine value, but that, I knew, was no longer my burden to carry, not my responsibility to teach. I looked out my window, the Nashville lights twinkling below, a beautiful, vibrant tapestry of hope and possibility. My life was simple, yes, but it was unequivocally mine, meticulously built on choices I could stand by, choices that reflected my deepest values. The future was open, an unwritten canvas, and I was ready, truly ready, to write it, one meaningful, authentic chapter at a time. A lesson in true value and an invitation to connect. My dear friends, Scarlett's journey is a poignant testament to an eternal truth. True value resides not in what a gift costs, but in the heart and intention with which it is given. It is a powerful reminder that while material wealth can offer comfort, it can never truly buy genuine love, respect, or familial harmony. This story beautifully illustrates the profound courage it takes to stand by your convictions, even when faced with public humiliation and the harsh judgment of those who should, by their very nature, cherish you. It teaches us that authenticity, integrity, and unwavering self-respect are treasures far more precious than any fleeting social currency or monetary sum. What resonated most deeply with you in Scarlett's powerful story? Have you ever experienced a moment where your genuine intentions were cruelly misunderstood or dismissed by others? We would be truly honored to hear your thoughts, your cherished experiences, and your own stories of resilience, generosity, and the pursuit of true value in the comments section below. Your wisdom, born of your unique life journeys, enriches us all. If Scarlett's inspiring story has touched your heart, and if you believe in the transformative power of narratives that uplift, empower, and illuminate the human spirit, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more compelling stories just like this one. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our new videos, ensuring you remain a part of our growing community. We deeply appreciate your support and eagerly look forward to building a vibrant space of shared wisdom, heartfelt inspiration, and meaningful connection.